Hey everybody, it's Ricardo Gorski, the founder of Offplan.One, and in this video I'm going to talk about Cyprus's future and investment potential and why I think that Cyprus will explode in the near future. And you know, it's funny because I've been trying to convince people for years now that Cyprus is a beautiful place to be, and I actually uploaded my very first video about Cyprus just about 6 years ago, but within the last 2 years I've got the feeling that something changed. People are now actually aware of Cyprus's potential, and so the people that come to the island, they are already informed, convinced and confident that Cyprus is the right place to be, and we are just entering the next growth cycle. And so I noted down the 7 biggest reasons for that, and if you're thinking about coming or investing in Cyprus, I'm sure that those points will help you. So let's start with number 1, and that is the increased demand. First of all, we have to look at the record tourist numbers. So those are the actual tourist arrivals numbers from the gov.cy website, and as you can see, almost every single month 2025 had more tourists than 2024. The only exception is March, with a pretty easy explanation, and that is the Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip that occurred in this month. But from April until October we have more tourists than ever, and that actually leads to record numbers. Cyprus records the best 10-month tourism period in its history, and that is huge because Cyprus always used to be a very popular holiday destination, but I'm telling you that Cyprus is now becoming more and more popular and actually competing with the top holiday destinations of the world, such as Mallorca, Ibiza and many more. But next to the tourism, we also have the immigrations, which are also exploding, and me running Tax.One and Offplan.One, I can definitely confirm that 2025 was our best year so far. We've helped hundreds of entrepreneurs, businesses, families, individuals relocate to Cyprus and or buy properties here. More specifically, we have a huge amount of businesses that are relocating their headquarters to Cyprus, especially in Limassol. Limassol is like the European fintech hotspot where all the big brokers, but also nowadays other tech companies are headquartering for tax incentives, such as the IP box regime, where software related companies that generate their income through intellectual property can decrease their effective corporate tax down to just 2.5%, which is definitely the best IP box regime out there. Next to that, we also have record property investments, and we see here Cyprus property sales are at a 17-year high, which is huge. We have 5 figures sales contracts that are deposited at the land registry, and this is even exceeding levels seen in 2008, just before the global financial crisis. And now let's put 1 and 1 together. The main driving force for property prices in a country, city, whatever it is always supply and demand. And so point number 5 is that the limited supply in Cyprus makes the prices go crazy, because it takes a while until buildings are built and the infrastructure is laid out for the incoming demand that is occurring in an exponential way. And so this obviously leads to developments in the country, such as number 2, lifestyle developments. And for that, I noted down that I have the feeling that Cyprus is finally waking up and improving life quality across the island. I mean, I'm in Cyprus for 6 years now, and comparing Cyprus 6 years ago to today is just insane. And 6 years is actually not a big amount of time if we are talking about developing a country. I mean, if I compare Bad Kreuznach from Germany, where I'm from, where I was born and raised, 6 years ago to today, and I'm visiting soon for Christmas, literally nothing has changed there. But here in Cyprus, so much has changed. For example, gastronomy. There are so many fine dining cuisines, new cafes, restaurants, fast food, whatever it is, they are just popping out of the ground like mushrooms. And yes, many of them are local gastronomy, restaurants and all that, but there are also big names that are coming to Cyprus that are located in hotels, branded residences, or even open up their own store in the city. A very good good example is Namos, a huge name in the restaurant world, internationally known, and they just open up in Limassol. I've actually visited them this summer. The vibes were amazing, the bills were expensive, and it was right next to the beach, so definitely a very good lifestyle opportunity. Next is hospitality. There are so many 5-star resorts across the island. Just here in Paphos, we have a seaside 5-star resort, we have a mountain 5-star resort, and many more under development. At this point, I've actually lost track of how many amazing resorts and golfing, wellness, and other amenity projects there are currently in the pipeline. Next to that, also branded residences. Here we see the Ritz-Carlton residences, for example, a big tower in Limassol. Next to that branded residence tower, we also now have the Cavalli Tower, which is currently under construction. You can see me here with my business partner Elias. We are here with Mike Leptos, the developer of the Cavalli Tower in the Blue Marine area in Limassol. It was definitely a nice opening ceremony, and all that leads to the fact that the overall infrastructure of Cyprus has improved so much and is still improving, with investments and announcements such as this one, where Cyprus is enjoying a 1.3 billion investment plan for the upcoming years. And also here an article that shows that Cyprus is on the rise as a luxury real estate hotspot. And this leads to the next point, which is mega projects. And there are a lot of interesting mega projects under construction right now that are driven by public, governmental, private, and foreign investments. Probably the two most known mega projects on the island are the Larnaca Marina and the Paphos Marina. And even though many people doubt that they will ever exist, I'm absolutely certain that it is just a matter of time until development starts, and then obviously all surrounding areas will increase in value by a multiplier that property owners will just have a very big smile on their face. And then also we have airport developments, and we see here, for example, that Cyprus is pumping 170 million into airports as the country is just experiencing this high amount of travelers right now. We have here a few other articles showing that investments are strong this year. We had one of the biggest real estate transactions, which was literally just a big piece of land that was sold for 130 million euros. Coast side here around Secret Valley area, very close to Paphos, Pissouri area. Then we have over 230 million in projects that are announced for Paphos specifically as well. And those include improvements of the city, such as the highway and coast road expansions, which will also highly improve the infrastructure of Paphos. The Clorcas coastline, for example, will be extended to 4 roads. Then we will have a highway that is connecting the Polis area with Paphos. Obviously, all that will take time, but this is showing you that there are mega projects under construction, under discussion in Cyprus right now. Also, obviously, the Limassol skyline. And what I personally really like is the fact that I did YouTube videos 6 years ago in Cyprus already. I was flying with my drone showing the Limassol skyline. And if you watch my newest videos on my private channel Rico Go, then you will see the big difference, the contrast between the Limassol skyline back then and nowadays. But also next to the towers, we have big mega projects such as the City of Dreams Casino, the biggest casino in Europe and the Mediterranean area. Then Cyprus will very soon develop the biggest ice rink in Europe and the Mediterranean area. Then Cyprus also just finished constructing a big football stadium, which is now also hosting Champions League games, because the Paphos FC football club has just entered the first league of the Champions League, and we were just hosting FC Bayern Munich, Villarreal, and very soon Monaco is also coming here to Limassol. And so far I visited every single Champions League game here in Limassol. That is definitely a very nice experience. Then new shopping malls that, by the way, also have very nice amenities inside, such as the My Mall in Limassol has ice rinking. Then we have a new mall here in Paphos under construction right now. And then back to Limassol, the European Silicon Valley is what is going to happen, because if you remember earlier, the Blue Marine area next to the Roberto Cavalli Tower will also host a lot of offices for foreign companies such as Exness, but also many more that are about to come. And so the master plan for Limassol is actually to become this new European Silicon Valley where great minds connect, talent is concentrated and big projects are being developed in a low-tax environment in this beautiful, vibrant city, Limassol. But in order to fully understand the futuristic plans of Limassol, you definitely need to come to the island and just feel the energy. And also I recommend you to get a guiding hand that just shows you the areas that you should look at and what the actual off-plan projects are, where they are going to build what. So if you need a tour guide, if you want a partner for that, reach out to us on Offplan.One. But next point is healthcare and education, which is also being heavily invested in. Here we see the health ministry just unveils a 1.5 billion budget to strengthen the healthcare system in Cyprus. Many private constructors, investors are building new hospitals, new private schools, selling it to foreign investors and just improving the overall healthcare and education industry in Cyprus. Then another huge topic, which actually not a lot of people are aware of, and that is renewable energy and natural gas, which Cyprus is big in. And for that, we obviously have the East Med pipeline, which is under discussion for many years now. And as you can see, the plans are to reroute this East Med pipeline through Cyprus. And also next to that, we have massive gas reserves that are being found or were already found in the outer offshore seas of Cyprus. And the amount of natural gas that has been found around Cyprus, just 100 or 200 kilometers offshore, are actually insane. We are talking about 8 to 9 trillion cubic feet. And if we were to convert 8 to 9 trillion cubic feet of natural gas to today's valuation, then we are looking at something around 50 billion US dollars, which is obviously insane for a small island and country like Cyprus. Obviously, they are still under discussion with a few other jurisdictions that obviously want to have their share of this pie as well. But this is a topic for another video. So let's rather continue with the next topic, which is Cyprus's reputation and awareness. And that is just another beautiful thing to watch, because Cyprus has transformed from a shady tax haven to an international business hotspot with actual foundation and demand, where real businesses are relocating to and real talent is situated at and building amazing projects, businesses, softwares, and whatever it is that these companies are working on. At the same time, Cyprus's reputation has changed from hiding money to EU's crypto capital, where Cyprus becomes Revolut's new home for European crypto regulations, because the Cyprus Securities and Exchange Commission just granted the MiCA license to the neobank Revolut. Also here we have an article, a post by Nomad Capitalist, which is probably a name for many people, and they state Cyprus just changed the crypto game with the 8% crypto tax, which is going to be implemented on January 1st, 2026. They actually posted this about 1.5 months later than we did on the Tax One channel. That's the beautiful benefit of focusing on one jurisdiction. But also next to that, we have general and influencer marketing that is improving the island's reputation and awareness in general, with big names coming to Cyprus, such as we already discussed it, the Paphos FC entering the Champions League, which led to the fact that FC Bayern Munich, an Instagram account with 44 million football fans, visited Cyprus. They shared a post of the beautiful Limassol Marina city tour in Cyprus, and they enjoyed their time very much here. But other than that, we also have Phidias Panayotou, which is a Cypriot YouTuber. We actually collaborated in 2024. We did a YouTube video together, and after that, he has entered the European Parliament because he has been the most voted person in Cyprus at 24 years old with his marketing techniques. Then we also have another Cypriot that has been living in the UK for a long time, Yanimais, a car YouTuber, which is very known under Car Enthusiasts. We also collaborated a few months ago. We talked about UK versus Cyprus, and he shared his reasoning behind leaving the UK, and he was thinking between Cyprus and the UAE, Dubai, but he then decided for Cyprus, and we had a very interesting discussion. Then we also have German influencers and rappers that are not just visiting Cyprus and investing here, but also relocating here. If you're German, you probably are aware that big names like Capital Bra, Samra, the whole fitness industry basically with ESN, and a lot of famous people are now in Paphos, but also in Limassol. And for me as a German, it's just insane to go to the gym and see people that I watched as a teenager on YouTube. Anyway, we also have more local influencers. For that, there is actually an organization called World Influencers and Bloggers Awards, and you can see me here holding the 2025 award for entrepreneurship content, which I won with the Tax.One YouTube channel. Very proud of that. There we also have a lot of other local influencers that do their kind of content strategy all around Cyprus, and we just have this community of influencers that just uses Cyprus as this center of your content strategy, which is definitely also part of my content strategy. Other than that, we also have increasing marketing budgets from local companies. For example, I remember when I started doing videos about Cyprus 6 years ago, I talked to a few companies and their budget was like 200 euros for a YouTube video. Nowadays, I get offered 2,500 euros for a short video that I just have to post on TikTok, 20-30 seconds long. But I'm at a position now where I can confidently just decline all of those propositions and invitations and collaboration requests, whatever it is, because I have my own company, and that is Tax.One for all corporate and tax matters, and Offplan.One for everything regarding real estate in Cyprus. But now, very interesting, combining all of those marketing aspects, all that leads to the fact that more people become aware of Cyprus. And I remember talking about Cyprus 7 years ago when I was just about to leave Germany, and I asked a few friends and people that I know about what they think of Cyprus, and maybe 3 out of 10 people didn't even know Cyprus in the first place. My mom didn't know that Cyprus exists before I relocated there. Nowadays, when I go onto the German streets and I ask people if they know Cyprus, almost all of them, 95% of the people know Cyprus. And it is actually going to a point where Cyprus is actually competing with Mallorca, which is the place to be for German expats, next to Dubai, of course. And so obviously, when Cyprus becomes more and more popular online, but also offline, and people talk about Cyprus, this is good for the country. This is very good for Cyprus's future and potential. I mean, so many places in the world are known and successful and popular just because of social media. People want to go somewhere like Bali, for example, Nusa Penida, where I've been as well, just to take that one picture. And along your travels, you're spending money in that country, and the country benefits and profits from that. But all right, that's about marketing and tourism and all that. Now we are talking about Cyprus's compliance, which is very interesting because Cyprus, even though it has this reputation of being a tax haven, it is not really true. Cyprus is not a tax haven. Cyprus is a low tax jurisdiction that is fully aligned with all international tax laws, rules, and policies. Cyprus literally has the lowest tax rates that you can pay while being 100% legal with all compliance. And one strong reason for that is the Cyprus tax reform proposal, which is going to be implemented on January 1st. And one of the proposals and tax measurements is the corporate tax increase from 12.5% to 15%. But this is not to increase tax revenue for the Cyprus government. This is a strategic move by the Cyprus government to stay compliant with the global minimum corporate tax from the OECD, which is currently, guess, 15%. And because Cyprus is doing that, the tax residents of Cyprus are enjoying benefits such as being completely whitelisted, no gray or blacklist. We have easy bank account openings with international banks such as Revolut, Wise, which is not even possible for UAE tax residents or Paraguay tax residents. If you are a tax resident of such an actual tax haven like Paraguay or Panama, for example, you have no chance in opening up bank accounts that you probably want to use. You have to use some weird offshore banks where there is a lot of risk involved, but hey, at least you have 0% tax. But what you don't have is positive ratings from international credit score agencies such as S&P Global, which just upgraded their outlook of Cyprus to positive, which is huge in strengthening the banking sector of Cyprus, which means cheaper loans, even more foreign investments, and a strong banking sector in general. Now, talking about foreign investments, this is the next point because Cyprus has huge foreign investments for actual investment purposes, but also relocation purposes, holiday homes, and golden visas. Cyprus is about to enter the Schengen zone, which means that Cyprus will soon offer Schengen visa-free travel access for all Cyprus PR card holders at a price of just currently 300,000 euros, but this is so competitive with the Greece Golden Visa, for example, where you have to pay up to 800,000 euros for the exact same benefits for prime locations, that I personally think that Cyprus will realize this and increase the minimum investment from 300,000 to 400, maybe 500,000. So if you're interested in a golden visa as a non-European citizen, you should definitely act fast, because a permanent residence permit in Cyprus also grants you, as a non-European citizen, which is very interesting for you, an easy and fast path to EU citizenship. This can be as fast as just 2 to 3 to maybe 4 years, depending on your individual situation. We are more than happy to also advise you in your individual situation, of course, but in any case, there are multiple visa options, which just drives foreign investments so much. And next to that, which I already mentioned many times and where we have hundreds of videos on YouTube about, are the tax incentives of Cyprus, especially for foreigners, such as the 50% income tax deduction. Foreigners that relocate to Cyprus and work in previously mentioned companies and industries and sectors enjoy a 50% income tax deduction, but also tax residents of Cyprus enjoy 0% inheritance tax, which is huge, especially for British nationals or German citizens, where inheritance tax can be as high as 40%. Then CIT means Cyprus International Trust, which is also interesting for foreigners because the Cyprus International Trust, as the name suggests, is for international purposes, where you can just settle your assets into a trust vehicle, then appoint beneficiaries, which are in most cases your kids, for example, and then in the case that something happens to you, these assets will be transferred to the beneficiaries completely tax-free, and after 2 years the actual ownerships of these assets are decoupled from you as a natural person and owned by the Cyprus International Trust, which also helps you in cases like divorces or other legal criminal cases that might be going on. Anyway, all that leads to the fact that Cyprus has over 53,000 properties that are transferred to non-EU nationals. Cyprus sees 15,000 foreign property applications in just 5 years. The overall property market hit 3.5 billion in 2025 until now, and a lot of private properties like holiday homes and just dream houses are driven by the soon-to-be VAT change for villas, where the previous 5% VAT will be increased to 19%. If you want to avoid that, definitely make sure to reach out to us on Offplan.One before June next year, 2026. And we are also more than happy to explain to you how you can get an actual 14% discount on the property that you buy. It is literally a guaranteed 14% capital appreciation in just a few months. Insane that many people don't even know about it yet, and that leads to the fact that there is so much untapped potential in Cyprus and still so much free land. I'm a YouTuber and I fly with my drone over Cyprus on a regular basis, and whenever I fly over Cyprus, Paphos specifically, but also Limassol and even Larnaca, I see so much free land. I just see these beautiful plots and I'm like, damn, someone could literally build their dream house there and just live in peace and solitude and tranquility with a crystal clear beach like Sandy Beach here in Paphos. This is actually my YouTube video from my private YouTube channel where I talked about my honest review of living in Cyprus for 6 years. If you're interested, you can check out my private channel, Rico Go. But now back to Cyprus's potential, and there are currently still so many projects under construction. As I said, there is so much demand, but not enough supply, and this will be ongoing for at least another decade, where supply in Cyprus can literally, factually and physically not outpace the demand, the growing demand in Cyprus. And that also leads to the fact that there are new off-plan investment projects. Some of them are public, others are not. And if you want to gain insight into the best off-plan projects on this island, and if you want to become a part of Cyprus's growth like David, like Dimitar or Richard Jones and his wife, then definitely make sure to reach out to us on Offplan.One, and then my business partner Elias here with his big smile will contact you as soon as possible and discuss your Cyprus journey.